Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm at one of my mysterious locations because guess what? We have a mysterious kind of crossover SUV. This is a 2020 Lexus UX250H F Sport. Say that 20 times fast. But before we dive into this very small, it's actually the smallest of the Lexus lineup crossover SUVs. Before we dive in, let's talk about what's going on here. So Lexus, that premium brand of Toyota, is really trying to fit a SUV for every type of lifestyle, every type of interest, and this really is that gateway into the Lexus brand, being on the smaller size. Now, what's fascinating is, in a way, it almost feels a little bit like a hatchback compared to a crossover SUV, but don't let that fool you. There's lots of space, but there's also lots of amenities. Of course, those seats. Lexus does some of the best interiors, especially with the materials, but also you're getting hybrid technology, so you're gonna have maximum fuel sipping quality. So let's go ahead, let's dive into this F Sport of the UX250H and see, really, is it the one to get over, say, a Volvo XC40 or a BMW X1? Right off the bat, I say this time and time again, when you look at a Lexus product, you know it's a Lexus product because there's such distinctive styling. And because we have an F Sport, we have a totally sporty front fascia to this SUV. So you can see what we're working with our headlights. Everything is nicely integrated into the headlight housing. You got LED headlights, daytime running lamps, very nicely done. You work your way down. You do have a functional side air curtain, LED fog lamps, and I'm liking the dark chrome finish. Instead of bright or just gloss black, this dark chrome really makes it pop, looks exquisite, and really kind of fits into that luxury premium feel. Now, as we come across the front, love it or hate it, it is the way it is, and this is such a brand identifier for Lexus. It's that spindle grille, nice waterfall design. You see some blue around that Lexus badge, you know it's gotta be a hybrid. That seems to be the hybrid color of choice. More of that dark chrome just along the bottom, which is nice. I kind of like that, doesn't make the front end too heavy. And you can see how they kind of work this lower section to give it a more SUV look, but really, really sporty, which falls into its name, being an F Sport trim. Now, when you get up onto the hood, I really like the way the hood meets the top of the grille. It almost follows the exact line of all the intricate pieces of the headlight housing and the rest of the front fascia. You're gonna have this U-shaped raise to the center, and then everything else just kind of coasts and drifts away. Being a hybrid, obviously they wanted to take advantage of as much air cheating qualities as they can do to the hood, to the front fascia. And I'm telling you, wait until you hear the MPG numbers, quite impressive out of this small SUV. Now, when we look at the wheel and tire setup, you're gonna get this beautiful, nice, polished aluminum, multi-spoke wheel. It's gonna be an 18-inch wheel, 225 on the width, and you have a nice meaty 50 series sidewall. Because this is an F Sport, it's not just an aesthetics, they actually retuned the suspension to be a little bit more sporty, and you definitely can feel that when you're behind the wheel. We go down the side, you can see the flat black fender flare treatment, that F Sport badge, very, very tasteful. And you know what? It's got a little bit of a quirky feel to it, but I'm liking it. And of course, this is gonna be sitting on that same similar chassis setup as a RAV4, and a RAV4 has that same style of fender flare. You have gloss black on the mirror caps. I'm liking the way they went color matched on the rest of it. A little bit of chrome, very slim and trim on your turn signals. You have chrome trim around the top and the bottom. Nice low brushed aluminum roof rails. We have a sunroof on this one. We drop down, and the way they took the black plastic and kind of made it into a fender flare looks very tasteful. It actually extends off of the bottom of the door panel. Kind of a weird place to put the hybrid badge. It's almost like where they put the all-wheel drive badge on the RAV4. Not really loving that, so I am gonna zonk the location of that. They could have just kept it on the back, or I think most people would realize that H stands for hybrid, not heavy, because this is not a super heavy vehicle by any means. Love the belt line coming all the way into that rear quarter. And then as we work our way to the back, you're gonna get a simple low roof spoiler, gloss black, really working well with the gray. Kind of love the angles. I mean, look at the aerodynamic work that they do with the taillight housing. Very, very intricate detail, and it really helps give it that extra sporty look. Since we have an F Sport, you have your UX250H badge back here. If you wanted to put a hybrid back here, maybe they could have put it over here underneath all this, but I think the H kind of sums it up. Super clean. They brought the dark black chrome accents all the way to the rear fascia. But why don't we go ahead, let's pop the hood and see what's powering this UX250H. All right, guys, we got the hood popped. Underneath the hood, I like the tasteful engine cover. Bring a little bit of silver, spruces things up. You got your Lexus hybrid drive badge there and the Lexus badge. Other than that, what are we working with? You're working with a 2-liter inline-4 engine, naturally aspirated engine, combined with 3 electric motors. We're looking at 181 horsepower, 191 pound-feet of torque. This does have all-wheel drive, so you have 2 of the motors up front, 1 electric motor out back, so this is all-wheel drive. It's mated to a CVT transmission. 0 to 60, not the fastest, but that's not what this vehicle is about. It's 0 to 60, 8 seconds. The SUV does weigh 3,606 pounds. Here's where you're gonna be the real winner. 41 miles to the gallon in the city, 38 on the highway. And like I said, you're gonna get that great Lexus reliability and style. But why don't we go ahead, let's get to that interior and see what big things this small UX250 brings to the table. All right, guys, we're inside the 2020 UX250H. I know you're saying, well, Joe, I want something a little bit smaller. I want something with some versatility. I don't want a regular hatchback, but I want a Lexus product. How much is this particular one? The way that this one is optioned out and it's pretty much fully loaded, you're looking at MSRP right around $43,600. Let's see what you get for the money. Now, to the door panels, like I said earlier, Lexus does a bang-up job. I like the nice dark soft material. This one has the red leather treatment, and it really just spruces up the whole interior. I'm a little depressed about the speaker cover. I wish that they brought some of that nice aluminum trim. And the door pocket is super small. You might be able to get one 7-Eleven jumbo hot dog in there without sauerkraut, and a bottle of, let's say, Yoo-Hoo. Anybody drink Yoo-Hoo anymore? A Yoo-Hoo bottle will fit perfectly in that door pocket. Now, when we get to the dash, very, very sporty, kind of extends out. You have some red stitching, which is wonderful. I'm liking this nice black plastic textured look that they have here, soft material, and then you're gonna get to that infotainment system. Now, when we're looking at the infotainment system, of course you have navigation, of course you have that analog clock. And if you're wondering, well, Joe, what is the size of that screen? That's a 10.3-inch infotainment system screen. Is it touchscreen? No, because look, I'm touching it and it doesn't do anything. I'll show you how to navigate through this, but you do have Apple CarPlay, you have your navigation, soft touch material. Let me throw it into reverse, show you the backup camera we have here. There it is. I'm gonna zonk it. I wish that it would fill up the area of space there on the screen a little bit more, but you do have trajectory, which is nice. Throw it back into park. Before we go to the rest of it, I wanna point your attention over here. There's these 2 knobs that stick out. Kind of weird, but they're actually placed perfectly so you can reach them. This is sport, normal, and eco mode. You just twist it, and what's cool is the dash changes up and it tells you there what mode you're in. So we're in sport. You could drop it down to eco, whatever floats your boat. Now, as we come down, of course, on a hybrid, you got to have the power on button. It's not a start button, it's a power on button. You got your dual climate control. Easy to work these switches. That's what I love about this interior, is this switch gear here is very, very easy to use. You have a CD player, so you can bring out the old CDs. Whoop, there it is. Come on, get some tag team going in here. You have your ventilated seats and heated seats, and I'm so glad that they just have buttons. You don't have to use the trackpad, because we know how that goes. Wireless charging, and then what's under here? Boom, 12 volt, and then you just tuck it back in. 2 cup holders. This is gonna control that CVT transmission. I love the red stitching. There is that big, still talking point, the trackpad. And on this vehicle, it's a little easier to use because you have so much control going on with buttons and switches. Other than that, I just use the top buttons and that's about it. And I navigate through everything else using actual switch gear. You have your radio controls. Very interesting the way they locate them, but you know what? It makes sense because it's easy to get to. Nice, super soft. You're not gonna like this because, well, you are gonna like this because look, I could open it on your side. We got 2 USBs and aux jack, and you could probably get, I'd say, 14 king-size Snickers bars. I wouldn't go any more than 14 because you're just gonna squish your nuts, but definitely you could get up to 14 in there. And the nice thing is look, I could open it for me. I wish all manufacturers would just do that because it makes life easier for the passenger. Seats, they look like they're right out of a race car, to be honest with you, like an RCF. Love the F Sport Love all of the beautiful perforated material, the dark with the red. Of course, you're gonna get full power assist for the passenger and the driver. And then up top, you're gonna get your standard size sunroof. I feel like the black headliner, it's classy. It just makes it a little bit darker in here, but I guess that helps with the over sporty feel. But these seats are a little piece of heaven. I actually drove to Kissimmee to go to Mecum in this vehicle, and it was comfy as can be. Why don't you come over to the business end though? I want to show you behind this F Sport leather steering wheel in our UX250H. All right guys, business time. On the driver's side, you do have 3 memory seat settings, which is wonderful. There's that wonderful soft touch material I was telling you about. I even like the way they shape the door handles. They just put some thought into it, and that's what I love about Lexus products. You have your leather condom for your key fob. Always got to have that on, but I love the way it's got the red with the black, and then there's all your switch gear buttons on the back, so definitely option in a nice F Sport leather condom. Seats, you got your seat controls, easy to get to, lower lumbar. I like the brushed aluminum Lexus panel here. And then when we get to the steering wheel, it is electric tilting and telescoping, which is nice. You have paddles. Now that's gonna be simulated shifting through that CVT transmission. I like the steering wheel. Like I said, it looks like it's right out of an RCF race car almost, with the thickness, all of the beautiful contrast crisscross stitching. And then you're gonna have that wonderful 7-inch display in the center. What's cool is right now I have it in sport mode, so you can see how you have white with red on the tack. If I change it, it actually changes what I'm seeing there as I go through my different modes. So there's normal, then I could go to sport, I could go to eco, real easy to do. And then if you're wondering, well, Joe, what's on the other side? This is to shut off your traction control. So you actually just push that in, and that shuts off your traction control. And you have a wonderful 10-inch head-up display in this UX250H. But why don't we get to the back seat and see if your passengers are gonna like riding, because you're gonna be going some hypermiling in this crossover SUV. All right, guys, back seat time. Now, I'll be honest, it is a little hard to get into the door opening being 6 feet tall. If you're shorter, you're gonna have a little easier time. No pocket, surprisingly, no pocket behind the driver's seat, so that's gonna be a zonk. You do have your rear AC, and you have 2 USBs, so that's nice for both your passengers. I have a pocket over here, so I could keep my trusty back scratcher, or maybe I'm gonna go play some tennis. You could keep your racket right there, and nobody's gonna touch it, I promise. Plenty of headroom though, which is amazing. And then you flip this down, nice soft armrest, 2 cup holders. Everybody could have some Yoo-hoo. Why are you gonna hog the Yoo-hoo just for the driver and the passenger up front? Let the people in the back have a little bit of Yoo-hoo. Makes everything all better. But really, not too shabby on the space, especially with this being a hybrid. But why don't we get to the cargo area and see what kind of room there is for your junk. All right, guys, time to check out the cargo area. Now, when you open this, it's got a nice electric assist. The one thing I just want to point out is how high the actual entry to the cargo area is. It's actually pretty high. And also remember that you do have those batteries for the hybrid setup back here. So that's where you're going to be squeeze played for a little bit of room. But what are we talking about room-wise? You're looking at 17.1 cubic feet of space in the back. Of course, the seats will do a 60-40 split. And if I pick this up, I know some of you want me to show off, there is no spare, but you do have a nice Twinkie storage area back here. So if you take your boxes and you're smart, you could easily get 4 boxes of Twinkies in here, which is a good idea, because if you're not stopping for gas as much, you're gonna need the snacks for your passengers so they don't get hangry. But if you're ready, I'm definitely ready. Let's take this UX250H for a spin. All right, guys, we left our mysterious location. We're in the 2020 UX250H. I do have it in sport mode. That's just something that it seems to be my go-to. Every time I get into a vehicle, I automatically put it into sport mode. But what's awesome is, even with this being a smaller vehicle, visibility is great out the front. They did a great job with visibility out the front. Out the back, same story. You would think that really slanted rear glass would be hard to see out of it. It isn't at all. Side mirrors, great size, great shape, look good. And everywhere you're touching, you're feeling nice material in here. You're not feeling anything cheap. And I know that Lexus interiors have had that dated quality to it, but based off a lot of other vehicles with the over 10-inch screen and the way everything is laid out, it's actually feeling pretty fresh in here compared to some of their other models in their lineup. Now let me go ahead and get on throttle. Now, one thing to be aware of, this does have sound that is pumped through the speaker system. So if it sounds like a little bit of a race car, that is from the speakers. But here we go, on throttle. Simulated shifting. So it's kind of funny to hear it knowing that it's not real. And I'll be honest, sometimes it gets a little annoying, but very fascinating, their attempt to try to make this even more sporty than what it really is, especially for a hybrid. And it's interesting too, because sometimes the naturally aspirated inline four conflicts with the sound that you're hearing through the speaker system, and it almost sounds like you have two different engines in the vehicle, which obviously you don't. But very, very smooth, even with the sport tune suspension. I like the steering feel. If you want to shift through those simulated gears with the paddles, it's easy to reach. And the car is such a good size that for a person living in the city, this is going to allow parallel parking to be a snap. If you're going into that busy parking lot at the mall or at Home Depot or something like that, or Costco, you're going to be able to navigate very easily with this vehicle because of the overall size. I like the head-up display, super, super clear on the graphics and the font. Of course, you're going to get all your safety features that you come to expect from almost every brand, especially Lexus and Toyota. But it really rides very, very nicely. Would be nice at this price point to have a panoramic sunroof. And I think for the most part, your passengers are not going to feel too cramped in the back seat, even though this is a smaller crossover SUV. But let's go ahead. I'm going to kind of slow down here, see if we can get to a stop. And I'm going to do on throttle right where we stand. On throttle. So 0 to 60 in 8 seconds feels about right. You have that race car sound coming from the speaker system. It's super clear. I know a lot of people don't like this type of setup of infotainment system. The nice thing is it's perfectly within your line of sight. It's really at your perfect line of sight, the height of the screen, the size of the screen. And the only reason why it's not a touch screen is because if it was, you're gonna have to reach for it. They want you to obviously use the trackpad system, and I know that could be cumbersome, but in this vehicle, because there's less controls that you're actually controlling with the system, it isn't too bad. But I'm telling you right now, the visibility in here is great, and I could see this being perfect for somebody who wants to get their first Lexus, doesn't want to go $60,000, $70,000, but yet they want to have that Lexus quality, they want the Lexus reliability, and then with this, you're also getting the fuel savings as well. But hoping this gave you an overall view of this UX250H. I think my favorite two things that I like about the interior are the seats and the steering wheel. And then my third favorite would be the dash. I do like that simplicity of that 7-inch display. Everything is digital, lots of information, but it's easy to read. But hopefully this gave you a good overall feel and view of this little small size fuel sipping crossover. We're gonna get back to our location and wrap this one up, so I'll see you in a split second. All right guys, been another wonderful time with this 2020 Lexus UX250H. I definitely gotta thank Corey over at Lexus and the rest of the crew for getting us access to this press fleet vehicle. It really shows that Lexus does have a specific crossover SUV and or SUV for every type of lifestyle, every type of budget. And if you're wanting to go into the Lexus brand, this is a great way to get your feet wet and also have that hybrid capability. And you know what? I don't think you're gonna wanna go to that German brand or the Swedish brand that we talked about at the beginning of this review, just with the amount of quality that comes with that interior and also the fuel savings. But if it's small crossover SUVs that sip fuel that you want to keep seeing on Raise Rise, leave a comment in the comment section. If you're new and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raise Rise family. If you want to help us keep making great content just for you on the channel, click the link in the description, get yourself some Raise Rise merch. Got to give it up to Crown Vic. He's out here doing his thing. Today he slept in a little bit late. We'll make sure we wake him up early for tomorrow. So thank you, Victor, for your hard work. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.